All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting of the City of Westmount for Monday, June 20th, 2022. Bonjour, bienvenue aux séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal de la ville de Westmount pour lundi, le 20 juin 2022. Just a few updates to start with. This Thursday, the greenhouse will officially reopen after many, many years of restoring and refurbishing and rebuilding. We are looking forward to the greenhouse finally reopening, so that's where there's some final finishing touches this week, and that will open Thursday afternoon just before our les activités pour la fête des gens, which I imagine Councillor Roux or Councillor Gallery will discuss later. So I think we're all looking forward to that project coming to completion and the doors opening again. And I think Councillor Gallery has a few updates as well that she would like to share.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a few updates that are mostly of good news. But first of all, I'd like to announce that we have a Canada Day barbecue and splash bash celebration for WRC, which will take place on Canada Day, July 1st at from 12 to 4 p.m. There'll be cake and fun, music, and I hope to see as many of you there as possible. Also, last week we had the launch of the Conseil, and it was a project that studied the Westmount places of worship. We download an app, and it's a sound walk project with lots of information. Basically, it's an audio documentary walk describing Westmount's 11 places of worship and their architectural and heritage significance. The project was in collaboration with our Westmount Urban Planning Department and the Westmount Heritage Council and a wonderful group called the Conseil, an independent not-for-profit. And I just encourage you all to download this app. It is remarkable, the history and heritage within our city, 2 synagogues and 9 churches. It's extremely well researched and really worthwhile. So I thank the urban,
easy to find on the App Store.
Yeah, and I just want to make a special thank you to the Urban Planning Department for this extra project that they've initiated and thought through, and the launch was really special. So thank you very much. Also, unfortunately, the WRC splash pad is currently closed. There's urgent repairs happening. It should take less than a week. We apologize for that, but work that needs to be done. A reminder of the registration of summer activities. There's still time to look at our online brochure and sign up. And lastly, just hope to see as many of you there as possible for the grand opening of the greenhouse Thursday, June 23rd at 4 p.m. Mayor and council will be there, and it's a long-awaited Westmount Heritage Building that we're really excited to be open. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Aronson or Kez, any updates on that end? Kez?
I have just
The
a tiny,
summit, you should update.
you hear
on
me?
that.
Just
Yeah.
a little tiny one, it's tomorrow's National Indigenous Peoples Day, so I know I'm having shares at 2:30, there's concerts and soap sculpting, so all of us welcome to having shares tomorrow to help celebrate National Peoples Indigenous Day.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Aronson, anything? And the summit has reopened to dogs, but only till 10 in the morning and after 5 p.m. And we really stress that you need to adhere to those rules. And there's a reason why they're in place. It's to protect our one and only urban forest. So I'll start at this end. Councillor Peart, any updates? You'll report as we pass your motions. Councillor Roux?
Yes, so to follow up on Councillor Ken, it will be National Indigenous Peoples Day tomorrow. There will also be a concert at 5 p.m. in Westmount Park. One costume is done by the state for the sound of the historical talk, and asked by Roundhouse Chapter. My registration is required. And of course, I mentioned it last time.
Again, we celebrate la fête nationale un peu plus tôt à Westmount, alors ça va être jeudi le 23 et non le 24. Ça commence à 17h au parc Westmount. Ça nous permet de célébrer le début de l'été avec les festivités. Il va y avoir des camions de cuisine de rue, des spectacles de cirque, l'inauguration du Story Walk. Notre mairesse va nous faire l'honneur de nous lire l'histoire.
Avec Jennifer Macomb,
Avec
notre députée.
Alors, ils vont faire la lecture du livre qui s'appelle Parfois je suis un renard de Daniel Daniel. Alors, dimanche littéraire, cette année, il y a des auteurs lycées Daniel qui met à l'honneur des traditions littéraires des jeunes lycéens. Alors, vous en faites, les histoires,
Merci beaucoup. Councillor D'Amico? Okay, which is an additional item on the agenda tonight, on the public agenda. Okay, I think that's it for updates. And as Councillor Gallery had mentioned about Canada Day, we've had a lot of questions from people whether or not we're having a citizenship ceremony. We gladly would have a citizenship ceremony, but Citizenship and Immigration Canada are not doing them in person yet in the communities. So as soon as they are, we will go back to hosting that ceremony. So we will now, on va commencer avec la première période de questions. The first question period. So if you want to ask your question now, you are very welcome to. State your name and your address. Yes, because it's for the recording.
Your student is 5, one of 2 years, the other one is 4. We have a special consultation meeting with class last month with Mayor, respective council, senior leadership and officials. The necessary which the city chose to notify council to this provided. Having that one, in which has several other people on the street, up and down the street, and across the street, with the government, so that other areas of the meeting. And it turns out that most of those work, and residents have versus some of those also. But when there was a meeting, we had to not receive flyers. I was here tonight, this evening, because I asked the question from now, maybe you know, one, this time, after a really nice meeting, I really wanted to have it independent. I sent an open letter to the I probably had to be independent, I think I'm probably not a problem. And that is several weeks go by, and so maybe my question is to council to the website.
Read and answered.
Really?
It certainly was.
Well, that's great.
Yes, your question was read and answered, and I don't typically respond to letters in the paper because there are several every week. So the best way to get a hold of me is via csmith@westmount.org. We had sent out the flyers, Canada Post had been given all of the addresses and the location of where they were to be delivered. And there obviously was a mishap there. There were many residents from that area, but I guess you didn't get one through your door. And Councillor Gallery will add in a second. And there were a few mishaps. We've done this in a couple different districts, and we've had some issues with Canada Post delivering these. They're also, it's on our website and on our social media platforms. But it's unfortunate that some of the houses were missed, but it was given, it's not our public security team or public works that delivers it. It's not the councillors. It's Canada Post was given the job.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make that my question. Would you consider, council consider doing the scope of doing the households that would be there? Would you consider, and I'm really sorry about this is not the best time, but we've always got, we want to be able to do the new language. So, perhaps, September, the end of the year, we can consider this opening. For those who would like to do this, in the right track, the elected officials would be also significant.
Yes, that one in particular, I believe, was our head of engineering as well as our head of public works at the time, and our assistant director general, I believe, was there. So it is certainly, I will talk to the councillor who's not here tonight, but I will speak to the councillor, and we've done it in different districts, and I think we've got some people that were here last week at another area's public meeting, and I certainly have no issue with doing more of them. I have no issue with doing more of these, and I think it's a very positive way to engage with citizens, as opposed to in a council meeting where a lot of people don't want to come and ask questions in that forum. They would prefer a more casual environment. Yes. Yeah, and I think it's very important that these conversations happen, and it's a great chance to hear different ideas from people.
Okay, I'm out of curiosity, because obviously there's no time to hearing, what is the question is addressed, for finding that, how is the person, you know, is it-
You have to
Zoom?
you have to watch it by Zoom, which maybe is not everybody's favorite viewing platform or spending their evening watching it by Zoom, but it is addressed via Zoom, and then the recording is put on the website.
So there's no notification about the otherwise, something.
If you've submitted a question, you're getting it answered. That there is a guarantee that if you submit a question by 4 p.m., it will be read. It will be answered to the best of our ability, and if we have to follow up, we do, or we just, we respond in council. So, yes, Councillor Aronson, as
It occurs to me,
communications, and I think Councillor Roux.
another way one might be able to find the answer to your question long after it's been asked and answered is to simply review the minutes, which once adopted by council are also posted on the website. And so, you know, if you need to go back and look at questions that were asked and answered in previous iterations, sitting through 2 hours of Zoom to try to find the right, or the YouTube to find the right answer, it might be easier to review the written record.
You're welcome. Councillor Roux, I think, had a comment, and then we'll move to our gallery and Roux, and everybody
Well,
wants to comment.
It might not be the regular way of doing it, but a chance for Councillor D'Amico and myself to say that we haven't forgotten our residents. We haven't had a meeting yet. We will be holding one after Labor Day, because I think a lot of the
Not
city,
ideal over the summer.
no, exactly, a lot of the city empties out. So, I mean, people from the administration will be there when we have ours, so maybe we
Yeah.
can get a few people who didn't get to go for their district. It is a small city, so.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Councillor Gallery, did you have any?
I was just gonna quickly add that, Councillor Chammy and I just hosted one last week, and we too had some residents that didn't get the template of the postcard. So it's an imperfect science. I know the administration tries, we do work with Canada Post. And some addresses obviously slip through in your district and in mine. So we apologize, but we know this is a positive engagement and we plan on doing them more regularly. But just know always that we're also reachable by email and phone in the meantime. So.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If there's an issue, don't wait till a public meeting. The Director General.
The actual productions are not part of the ministry of something that we like to do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The one for the second. The one.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Madame Dupont. Good evening. You just have to, for the record, your name and address.
My question is regarding the modification of the primary we found out recently through the Oakland newspaper that the city of Westmount, which is supposed to notify Mount Pleasant Avenue by the country having a sidewalk on the second street. This proposition is a source of immediate concern for the surrounding residents, as it is in the front community. That concept that we decided some other countries in mind. You mentioned this is very visible the architecture to report and propose modifications to the street in the context of the historic condition of the area. Last week, we submitted a report to the councillors and the owner, as well as to Mr. Rowe. I've had a chance to review the findings.
So I did get your, I got your report. All of council got, I think it was delivered to all of their homes as well. So thank you. It's very thorough. I've read it quickly, but I haven't had a chance to, we haven't had a chance to discuss it, but certainly there's a lot of information in it, especially about the history of the street and the difference between it, the back end of the house being more lane-like in its, as opposed to the front end. But so thank you. And I know last week you had come and shared a lot of your concerns with your neighbors at our public meeting. And that was all very much taken into account. So
So just to
follow-up?
summarize on the essence of the report, essentially it comes to the conclusion that the addition of a sidewalk along Pleasant Avenue would be an intervention that would deny the special character of the street and our residents from the specificity of its creation. It would also be inherently dangerous, inviting the public to walk along the path that is potentially interrupted on a daily basis by the rest of the residents and the system cars. The condition of establishing a sidewalk alongside continuous garage doors is not encouraged in any other part of Westmount. The city should not be encouraged on Seventh Avenue. To do so, we should not vote in authority to speak in terms of this analysis. Again, this is improvements to the urban form are always welcome, but not when imposed on standardized solutions and see an unconventional situation and elevate risk to the needs and competence. I want to go to the summary of the whole report that really what we try to do is really to bring sort of much light as we did on the issues we saw in health and counseling and shape and opinion based on all the facts so that it would be
So thank you. And what was, the public meeting not
correct? That work is going to be done next year, so that we have time to hear your feedback. And certainly that was a major topic last week, and I know that you brought it to your counselor as well, and he has discussed it at length with the Assistant Director General.
So do we have hope that for the upcoming commission, this report will be? Thank you very much, councillors.
Thank you for coming and for the information. Any further questions? No? Okay. Any other questions in the back? No? All right. We will move to, I'm present. I'll just log in again. Okay, I think we can begin because I don't believe Matt is frozen.
No, I'm okay.
Somebody's on, somebody's not on mute. Okay, so we will move to the adoption of the agenda, which is going to be Councillor Aronson, and he has 2 new additions on tonight's agenda under new business.
Indeed, I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you. So
I believe the order
I believe we're ready to first make the additions and then to make the question. Is that correct?
Yeah, you move with the 2 additions in the moving.
Very good.
There are no whereas.
So
I move
that the agenda of the regular council meeting of June the 20th, 2022 be adopted with the addition of the following items under new business. 18.1, modification to a design concept for reconstruction of Lexington and Devon Avenues. 18.2, modification of a contract, rehabilitation of public lanes in the city of Westmount. This is pub 2022-016.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. Those items will be added to the end of this agenda. Item number 5, again, is Councillor Aronson, confirmation of minutes.
I move that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June the 7th, 2022 be approved.
Thank you. A seconder on that will be Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Next item, item number 6, reports to council. 6.1, the correspondance des documents suivants sont déposés. Lettre du greffier de la Ville de Montréal ayant pour l'objet Assemblée du Conseil municipal du 25 avril 2022. Résolution CM 22 0526, règlement 04 047 237. Le règlement 04 047 237 de la Ville de Montréal intitulé Règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal 04 047 ainsi que ses annexes 1 et 2. 6.2, le greffier de la Ville. Dépôt d'un procès verbal de correction. Où est-ce que c'est, M. Léger? OK.
Donc, conformément à l'article 92.1 de la loi de Cités et Villes, je dépose le procès verbal de correction portant la résolution numéro 22022-06-140 ainsi qu'une copie du document modifié.
Merci beaucoup. Numéro 7, c'est le Conseil Gallery. It is not appointment of members of the Commission for the Management and Sustainable Development of the Territory. C'est nomination membre de la Commission de gestion pour la mise en valeur durable du Conseil Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas pursuant to Section 70 of the Cities and Towns Act, Chapter C-19, this council may appoint permanent or special committees composed of as many of its members as it may deem necessary to supervise the administration of the several civic departments for which they are respectively appointed, and to manage such business as it may by bylaw or resolution assigned to them. Whereas at its sitting held on June 7, 2022, the Municipal Council created the Commission for the Management of Sustainable Development of the Territory. Whereas it is necessary to proceed with the appointment of the members of said commission. I move, Madam Mayor, that the Municipal Council appoint the members of the Commission for the Management of Sustainable Development of the Territory as follows. That Councillor Conrad Peart be appointed as chair, that Councillor Matt Aronson be appointed as vice chair, and that Councillor Anitra Bostock be appointed as a member.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Kez over there will second this. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 8, call for public tenders, civil work in quadrant 168 and abandonment of the Arch of the Glen substation. That should be the title of that is not exactly it. Could be misleading. PUB-2022-013. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas tenders were publicly opened on May the 27th, 2022 for the civil works in quadrant 168 and for what is phrased here as the abandonment of the arch at the Glen substation, and we'll explain this in a minute. Tender number PUB 2022-013, and minutes prepared by the city clerk's office are submitted to this meeting. And whereas, following the analysis of the open tenders, Transelect/Common Inc. is the lowest conforming bidder as it appears from the report prepared by the purchasing manager, which is submitted to this meeting. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $316,945.50, including tax credits, for the civil works in quadrant 168 and for the abandonment of the arch at the Glen substation, tender number PUB 2022-013, to award Transelect/Common Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price at a maximum of $364,408.09 inclusive of taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents in the call for tenders PUB 2022-013, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2022-1597.
Thank you. Thank you. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Just to explain that the language used in this particular motion, making reference to an abandonment of an arch of the Glen substation needs some explanation, These are technical terms. We are not abandoning anything that the city needs or desires or values. It's certainly not anything that would be described by the public as an arch near the Glen. So those who may be concerned about the beautiful stone archway, which is a part of our landscape, need not be concerned. This makes reference to a description of a manner in which subterranean conduits for electrical cables are going to be reconfigured. At the present, they split to go around an object. Under this work, that split, which was called an arch, is going to be eliminated. No person other than an electrical engineer on site will ever notice a difference of any kind, but this is necessary work that needs to be done in order to continue the maintenance and the development of the hydroelectrical grid managed by Hydro Westmount.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
My pleasure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Again, Councillor Gallery, call for public tenders, reconstruction of the retaining wall at King George Park.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $317,000, $317,077.37, including tax credits for the reconstruction of the retaining wall, King George Park, tender number PUB-2022-020, to award to les entreprises de construction Ventec Inc. the contract for this purpose at a bid price for a maximum amount of $347,200.06, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB-2022-020, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2022-1593.
Thank you. A seconder on this will be Councillor Peart. Would anyone like to comment? I think Councillor Roux wants to comment on this.
Just say
You'll
that this
comment
is
first.
long-awaited work to repair the retaining wall and bring back the basketball court. So we're delighted to get this project going and great, moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Roux.
Yes, I would just like to say that, of course, when experts from the administration tell us that the state of our infrastructure is unsafe, I can't vote against making it right, making sure none of the residents or anyone enjoying our parks get hurt. But the paths in the park, many of them, I will be polite, are also unsafe and won't say anything else. But I've been assured that they won't be beautifully redone, but they will be made safe until we can do anything else. So be reassured that you will be able to walk safely through the park, not just play basketball safely.
Thank you for that commentary. And I think everybody would agree with you that the paths in King George Park certainly need some work. So all in favor? Carried. Item number 10, notice of motion and adoption of a first draft of bylaw 1588 to further amend zoning bylaw 1303, office use in zone R9 090903. Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madam Lameres. I give notion of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1588 entitled bylaw to further amend zoning bylaw 1303, office use in zone R9-09-03. The object of this bylaw is to modify the grid of uses and types of buildings permitted in zone R9-09-03 in order to authorize office uses, as well as to add a provision concerning parking to the grid of physical spatial specifications of zone R9-09-03. I move that the first draft of bylaw number 1588 entitled bylaw to further amend zoning bylaw 1303, office use in zone R9-09-03 be adopted for submission to the public consultation in accordance with the provisions of the Act respecting land use planning and development, CQLR Chapter A-19.1, and that a public consultation meeting be held in the council chamber of Westmount City Hall on July 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in accordance with the provisions of said act.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Roux. Any further comments?
This zone actually comprises a single building at 400 Mount Pleasant. It is currently a residential building, which I believe has four units in there, residential units, and a office unit, and now the current usage does not allow office use, and so this is an amendment to permit office use in that zone, which, like I said, comprises a single.
Yeah, which is Mount Pleasant, but corner of Sherbrooke Street.
Exactly.
So all in favor?
This is just.
Oh, sorry, you're just, sorry.
No, but
It's, we don't have to vote, yeah. No, wait, we do vote. No, wait, we do vote.
You do vote? Okay.
Yeah,
sorry, my mistake.
you move, yeah. Yes, all in favor? Carried. Item 11, tabling of the Planning Advisory Committee minutes. Councilor Peart again.
Thank you, Madame Linares. I will dispense with whereases since this is a regular occurrence on our agendas. I move that council acknowledge and accept the minutes of the Special Planning Advisory Committee PAC meetings held on May 17th, May 25th, and May 31st, 2022, as well as the special meeting of the PAC acting as local heritage council held on May 31st of 2022.
Thank you. Councilor Gallery would like to second that. All in favor? Anything to note in there? No?
Nope, these are the typical PAC sessions we have, and these are the minutes from those sessions. Exceptionally for this one, there was the CPW or the Conseil de Patrimoine Westmount. So there was an additional session for which this is minute.
Okay, and then we have item number 12, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs. Again, Councilor Peart.
Thank you, Madame Linares. I move that the municipal council act on the opinions of Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, as set out in the minutes of the special meeting held on May 25th of 2022 minutes, and adopt for each of them the site planning and architectural integration programs conditions for the issuance of a permit as listed in the following items. CCUS 22-05-25.01, CCUS 22-05-25.04, CCUS 22-05-25.06, CCUS 22-05-25.07, and CCUS 22-05-25.27 of the agenda of the special PAC meeting held on May 25th, 2022.
Thank you. Seconder on this will be Councilor Gallery. Any further comments on this?
No, and if you need additional information, you just refer back from those reference numbers to the PVs that were detailed in the previous agenda item.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And now we are moving to two items that are minor exemptions. So one is on Rosslyn and one is on Kensington. So Council Gallery will read that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just checking, we're all on boxes. We're all good?
Matt is frozen. Actually, okay, maybe I'm frozen.
Conrad's not on the main screen.
Okay.
I'm on. You want to?
You're not on. Oh, yeah, you are. You're black.
I would just continue.
Okay, we roll. So, Madam Mayor, thank you. I will read the whereases. Whereas the City of Westmount's bylaw 1576 on minor exemptions was adopted on September 20, 2021. Whereas minor exemption can only be granted if the application of the zoning or subdivision bylaw would cause serious prejudice to the person requesting it. Whereas a minor exemption may be granted only if the application of the bylaw causes serious harm to the person requesting the minor exemption, nor may be granted if it hinders the owner of neighboring properties in the enjoyment of the right of ownership, or if it exacerbates safety or public health risks, or affect the quality of the environment or general well-being. Whereas minor exemption must be respect the objectives of the City of Westmount's master plan. Whereas the minor exemption is to allow the construction of a solarium at 730 Upper Roslyn Avenue with a coverage ratio on the lot that would exceed the maximum of 40% provided for in the grid of physical and spatial specifications of zone R2-04-01 of zoning bylaw 1303. Whereas the current site coverage ratio on the lot of the concerned property is 43.9%, which exceeds the maximum of 40% provided for in the grid physical spatial specifications for zone R2-04-01 of zoning bylaw 1303. Whereas the property concerned benefits from an acquired right with respect to the site coverage and the density of the lot. Whereas the application requires the demolition of the existing solarium. Whereas the proposed solarium would bring the maximum site coverage ratio for the lot to 44%, which would exceed the current 43.9% and the maximum 40% provided for in the grid of physical spatial specifications for the zone R2-04-01 of zoning bylaw 1303, whereas the impact of on the neighborhood of such construction is negligible. Whereas a public notice was published on June 2nd, 2022, in accordance with the law. Whereas the Planning Advisory Committee has issued opinions concerning this application as set out in the minutes of the meeting held on May 17, 2022. I move that the preamble be an integral part of this resolution. That council approve the application for a minor exemption for the property located at 730 Upper Roslyn Avenue to allow the construction of a sunroom for a site coverage ratio that would exceed the maximum of 40% provided for in the grid of physical spatial specifications of zone R2-04-01 of the City of Westmount zoning bylaw 1303 with the following condition: that the maximum site coverage ratio on the lot of the property does not exceed the current rate of 43.9%.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? It was pretty covered in the whereas. All in favor? All in favor? Carried. Again, another minor exemption application, 318 Kensington Avenue is again Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will again read the whereases. Whereas the City of Westmount's bylaw 1576 on minor exemptions was adopted on September 20, 2021. Whereas a minor exemption can only be granted if the application of the zoning subdivision bylaw causes serious prejudice to the person requesting it. Whereas a minor exemption may be granted only if the application of the bylaw causes serious harm to the person requesting the minor, nor may it be granted if it hinders the owners of neighboring properties in the enjoyment of their right of ownership, or if it exasperates safety or public health risks or affect the quality of the environment or general well-being. Whereas a minor exemption must respect the objectives of the City of Westmount's master plan. Whereas the minor exemption is to allow the construction of a third story at the property located at 318 Kensington Avenue, which would bring the total height of the building to 11.89 meters, 39 feet, although the grid of physical and spatial specifications for zone R3-22-01 of zoning bylaw 1503 specifies that the maximum height of the building is 9.14 meters, 30. Whereas the adjoining building located at 316 Kensington Avenue already has a third floor or total property height identical to that proposed by the applicant. Whereas the project is subject to zoning bylaw 1303 and bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs. Whereas the requirements stipulated in the grid of physical and spatial specifications of zone R3-22-01 of zoning bylaw 1303 applicable to the proposed project are in contradiction with the criteria stipulated in bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration program. Whereas this contradiction causes prejudice to the applicant by making it impossible to propose a project that complies with both bylaws. Whereas the impact on the neighborhood of such construction is negligible, whereas a public notice was published on June 2nd, 2022 in accordance with the law, whereas the Planning Advisory Committee has issued opinions concerning this application as set out in the minutes of the meeting held on May 17, 2022. I move, Madam Mayor, that the preamble be an integral part of this resolution. That Council approve the application for a minor exemption for the property located at 318 Kensington Avenue to allow the construction of a third story to the existing main building that would bring the total height to 11.89 meters, 39 feet, notwithstanding the fact that the grid of physical spatial specifications for zone R3-22-01 of the City of Westmount zoning bylaw 1303 provides for a a maximum building height of 9.14 meters or 30 feet.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The seconder on this will be Councillor Peart. Any further comments on this? Councillor
Yeah, I'd
Peart,
like to just
comment?
chime in on this one. I thought this was a great candidate for minor derogation. And one of the key, are you going to attend to the echo or? I am. Okay. One of the criteria that I found really interesting for this one is that for the applicant to conform to the zoning, it would lead to a bad solution architecturally. It would lead to a solution that would be undesirable in terms of our PEF or architectural integration. And so this is I thought it was a great example of some kind of legislative flexibility where we could both get a project that was a good architectural project and a project that was conforming to the zoning. And I thought that's a good application of minor derogation. So I'm happy to support this one.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 15, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs minor exemption. Again, is Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the minutes of the special meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee held on May 17, 2022 were tabled. Whereas the main role of the Planning Advisory Committee is to analyze and give an opinion on any requests that must be submitted to it in accordance with the Land Use Planning and Development Act, CQLR C.A-19.1. Example, SPAIP, minor exemption, SCOP, conditional uses, and on any other application in matters of land use planning and development that is submitted to it by council. Whereas applications have been submitted by the applicants under bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration program. Whereas the Planning Advisory Committee has issued opinions regarding these applications as stated in the Planning Advisory Committee minutes of the special meeting held on May 17, 2022. Whereas according to bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, council must decide on opinions of the committee by way of resolution. I move, Madam Mayor, that the municipal council act on the opinions of the Planning Advisory Committee Act as set out in the minutes of the special meeting held on May 17, 2022 minutes, and adopt for each of them the site planning and architectural integration program conditions for the issuance of a permit as listed in the following items. CCUS 22-05-17.01 and CCUS 22-05-17.02 of the agenda of the special PAC meeting held on May 17, 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Gallery. Seconder on this will be Councillor Peart. Any further comments? No, it's clear in the whereas. All in favor? All in favor? Carried. Next item is Councillor Peart, approval of item number 16, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs, 178 Côte Saint Antoine Road.
Thank you, Madame Linares. So
Yes, there's quite a few whereas, but
I think for this one, I will indeed read the whereas. Whereas this application meets its objectives and criteria set out in bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, SPAIP, whereas category 1-star buildings are to be kept in perpetuity and that alterations to character defining features and additions that affect these features are generally unacceptable. Whereas the character defining features and materials that contribute significantly to the character of the building and property identified in the heritage study by Luce Lafontaine, architect, are substantially preserved and restored. Whereas the addition is located on the rear facade and is set back from the lateral facades of the original building. Whereas the proposed addition and the accessory buildings on the property are generally compatible with the massing, size, and scale of the original building. Whereas the contemporary style of the addition integrates well with the existing building while establishing an acceptable differentiation from the original construction using a limited number of materials and a freestanding structure in accordance with conservation strategy. Whereas the addition adopts a conservative design approach, recalling the existing greenhouse and the horticultural vocation of the site. Whereas the proposed addition and modifications to the original building do not significantly alter the character-defining features of the original building as shown in the conservation strategy. Whereas proposed lowering of the masonry of the 3 existing openings on the rear facade to access the addition is acceptable if sawn and not dismantled, and is located on a wall that will be integrated into the interior design. Whereas the entrance vestibule is rehabilitated in keeping with the original material, design, and original exterior dimensions. Whereas a hierarchy of landscape zones identified in the WAA heritage study as having heritage value is maintained in the architectural and landscape proposals. Whereas the new garage is located on the site of the original garage in an area identified as having low heritage value and is reminiscent of the original garage in terms of form and material, whereas the swimming pool is located in an area with low heritage value and in a strategic location to minimize the impact on the topography of the site, whereas the lattice fence visible from the street will be rebuilt in accordance with the available archival images, whereas the project as a whole, comprising restoration, rehabilitation, and in addition to the main building, contributes to the sustainability of the original building and its residential function. I move that the municipal council, having received the opinion of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of the special meeting held on May 31st, 2022, approves the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP, conditions for the issuance of a permit according to the plans and documents submitted in reference to permit applications 2020-01254, PIIA 2021-00113, for the restoration and the extension of the main building and the construction of 2 accessory buildings, garage and pool house, on the property, and 2021-01625, PIIA 2021-00113 for the landscape work, including a pool for the property located at 178 Côte Saint Antoine Road. That these plans and documents be attached to the present resolution to form an integral part thereof.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on it? Whereas the motion is extremely well written and that it's very, very thorough.
Very
Any
thorough.
further
The
comments?
applicant has stepped up to the plate and delivered a project that I believe satisfies all of the aspirations that we have for the project. And that ultimately this is a private dwelling that needs to be occupiable by a family in West Mount. And with that, there needs to be some flexibility on behalf of council to enable this family to move in and make a home. So I happily support this application.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 17, again, is pertaining to 178 Côte Saint Antoine, is designation bylaw 178 Côte Saint Antoine Road. Councillor Peart again.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. Whereas bylaw 1552 designating the Good House as a heritage property was adopted by the City of Westmount on November 2nd of 2020 and was amended by bylaw 1580, and the application meets the objectives and criteria. Whereas the value of the Good House is based on its historical value, built in 1844 on an important artery for the development of Westmount, its architectural value, last residence of the Metcalfe Terrace in the Greek Revival style with exceptional integrity and authenticity, its landscape value, diversified English garden preserved for several generations, and its emblematic value in the area and in urban planning. Whereas a permit application was submitted for the construction of an addition using the Good House as a backing to a construction. Whereas this addition is acceptable since it is reversible because the structure is independent from the heritage building and because the flashing is done in the joints of the heritage stone wall. Whereas said project proposes interventions on the 6 interior heritage character defining elements, namely the main staircase, the plaster moldings and woodwork, the interior doors and shutters, the fireplaces and chimneys, the softwood floors, and the cast iron radiator covers. Whereas the above mentioned interior elements will not be substantially affected except for the main staircase, which will be dismantled and rebuilt to meet the requirements of the current building code. Whereas reconstruction of the staircase will include all the assembly details of the original staircase and will only modify the tread length and the height of the railing. I move that the municipal council, having received the opinion of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, acting as the Westmount Local Heritage Council, LHC, as set out in the minutes of the special meeting held on May 31st of 2021, approves the submitted project for the issuance of a permit according to the plans and documents submitted in reference to permit application 2020-01254, PIIA 2021-00113 for the restoration and the extension of the main building as it pertains to the back of the construction on the heritage building and to the interventions on the interior heritage character defining elements for the property located at 178 Saint Antoine Road. That these plans and documents be attached to the present resolution to form an integral part thereof.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. Again, a very thorough and well-written motion, but do you have anything else you want to add?
There's very little that I could add to that motion because it is fully
Okay.
detailed.
Okay, so I would just like to add that I'd like to thank the Department of Urban Planning that works very diligently and hard with this applicant. This has not been, this is a very detailed file that is protecting a special house and the applicant should be applauded for the commitment that the couple have to preserving the heritage of this house and really bringing it up and making a significant investment in it. So all those in favor? Carried. Okay, item number 18, new business. 18.1, modification to a design concept, reconstruction of Lexington and Devon Avenue. This is again, Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. Whereas at its regular meeting held on March 31st of 2022, the municipal council, by a majority, accepted the proposed design for the reconstruction of Lexington Avenue and Devon Avenue between Lexington Avenue and Summit Crescent. Resolution number 2022-03-72. Whereas at its regular sitting held on May 2nd of 2022, the municipal council, by unanimous vote, awarded to Kojak Inc. the contract for the reconstruction of Lexington Avenue and Devon Avenue between Lexington Avenue and Summit Crescent for a maximum amount of $6,639,217.77, including taxes. The whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB-2022-003, resolution number 2022-05-106. Whereas the members of this council have had the opportunity to visit the site and deem it necessary to amend the design concept. I move that the proposed design for the reconstruction of Lexington Avenue and of Devon Avenue between Lexington Avenue and Summit Crescent, resolution number 2022-03-72, be amended to remove the protrusions indicated on the plan attached to this resolution. That these amended plans be forwarded to Kojak Inc. in order for the work to be executed accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor D'Amico. Would like to second this motion. Any further comments on this?
Some of you may recall that when the tender was being approved by council, that we had expressed an openness to review the configuration as had been previously
In certain sections.
and a very limited portion of the other project in certain sections. We had committed to review, but not committed to make that change, but we have done that internal review. And this is the product of that.
Yeah, and those changes will happen within the current contract. Considered a minor change. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Last item on the agenda is 18.2, modification to a contract rehabilitation of public lanes in the city of Westmount. Again, Councillor Peart.
Right.
Yes.
Whereas on April 4th, 2022, council awarded a contract to the Pavasika Inc. for the rehabilitation of public lanes in the city of Westmount for a maximum amount of $427,240.96, including taxes. Resolution number 2022-04-87. Whereas during the course of the work, it was revealed that the concrete foundation of one of the lanes was completely inadequate to complete the repair work. Whereas this is a contingency, whereas it was not possible to foresee such a degradation of the foundation, whereas the engineering department had performed all necessary due diligence prior to the preparation of the specifications, I move that an additional expenditure be authorized in the amount of $103,477.50, including taxes, for the rehabilitation of public lanes in the city of West Mountain with Les Pavages Inc. To allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making files number 2022-1520 and 2022-1619.
Thank you. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments?
Just a little more background on this file. The works were underway and as the resolution notes, the underlying conditions were found to be worse than expected. As such, there was a bit of a redirect, and this is the result of that new work, which was not originally foreseen.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Aronson, want to comment on this?
Or I just wanted to make sure it's well understood that the specific area that we found was in worse condition than was originally believed is actually a lane behind Green Avenue along between Green and Elm.
Yes.
Which, as you know, is extremely important for not only residents, but also for the merchants in the area. And so on behalf of the economic development portfolio of the city, I urge councillors to vote in favor of this amendment, as I think it's pretty important that that lane be constructed as best we possibly can at this time.
Yes, and it's the work is done. Okay, so all in favor? Carried. Any further questions? And if not, we will adjourn the meeting. Any further questions from the audience? Do we have any audience? Do we have anything submitted online?
No, we don't.
No, going once, twice. We're going to adjourn. Thank you. Good evening, everyone who's watching online.